very simple things. Simple as where do we position the sofas, the furniture in the parlor? How do we arrange it? In the kitchen. So she has been trained to be in charge. In her head, she controls things. Then she arrives your home and you tell her, sit down. How? When even her father consults her, before anything is done, then you want to now tell her. She has vowed in her head that as long as I'm anywhere, this space, I'm in charge. So the question is, you now talk about submission. She's not doubting submission. She was in charge and submissive to her mother and father. So what is your own problem? Which vow runs your home? So if we're going to revisit the vow, then we ask ourselves, one is your home name. One truly governs your home. It's sweet to say Christian vow, in which there are debates of people who say but because you see that the discussion is going in a direction that is something that you refuse, you attack immediately because it's coming to that direction. And your spouse is innocent. They don't mean any harm. But there's a vow in your head. Which vow runs you home? Silently. We make if those vows are going to run our homes, which we want to remind ourselves, there are a few things that have to happen. Values have to be so that those vows will take their place. So now we have to value that this vow that you are in church of scripture. And one of the things that comes with that vow is the place of patience. Is a place of long suffering. It's a place that love keeps record of wrong. First, that's a task for many, especially if you have the kind of mother I had. I don't know how they do it. You break a plate and they tell you who gave you the plate, how they give you the plate. Another one, they remind you how you broke the first one. So I don't know how that happens. So, which vow? The biblical position is the vows that we go and some of us recited, some of us said, some of us had some interesting vows, and we said all those things. When we said all those things, we actually meant them. The first thing that would help us to respect our vow is in verse 14. In verse 14 it says, you ask why. It is because the Lord is witness between you and the wife of your youth. If your vow that you made in church is going to be of any value, the first thing is that you must value and give God his place as the witness. That God was witness. When we go for our weddings, the other day I was listening to somebody. Our weddings are more jamborees than weddings. In fact, I heard that to make a proposal now, that there are event planners for proposal. That's, I want to tell you I want to marry you. There's a budget. There's an event planner for me to come and tell a lady now, I want to marry you. It's a program of his own. There's an event planner. There's a budget. There's, I shall be for just to say I want to marry you. Those of you who have done it, thank God. Your children will tell. Shadows the spiritual aspect of wedding. There's a problem. So that God is not giving his rightful place. So when we come, I brought my minister's handbook, because this is what he says. He says, we are gathered here in the sight of God and in the presence of these witnesses, so that we acknowledge that God is the one whom we have come before. So if your vow is going to make any impact on your life, then God must have his rightful place in your life. It's not your spouse first, no. It's that I'm doing this to honor God. So the value you place on God will go a long way on how much value you place on your vow. When the organizers of the program spoke to me, they said there's high rate of divorce and it's affecting the Christian church. Of course, especially the younger generation. My brother and friend Pastor OJ told us something which I told in the church where I serve, and I think I'll tell you to be on the watch out, that their children, because the marriage registry allows you to register and get married from 18 once you're an adult. Once you're 18, you can go to the marriage registry and register. And he told us that they found out that their children living with their parents, 18, 19, 20, 21. And what they found out is that they go out on a normal day, then go to the registry and get married, then come back to your house and stay with you. But officially, they have a marriage certificate. Because you see, when you go to the registry, the witnesses do not have to be your parents. Anybody can be a witness. When we had, I was surprised. He said he went to the registry and he found out. He said yes, that they told him that yeah, those kind of things are happening because they see people that are 18, 19, 20 coming and they just come and they get married and they go. Now, God is not even in the discussion. So for us to go back to what we're supposed to be, God must take his place. So how much value do you place on God and his word? How much value do you place on God and his word? That the actions you want to take, do you take them because it will bring honor to God, not because it will particularly make you happy? Because sometimes some decisions we make are not particularly comfortable to us, but because they are glorifying to God. Why? Because God is your witness. The second value is the value you place on your spouse. That you made a promise to somebody. If you value the person you made the promise to, then you would honor and keep that vow. But you see, when the promise that was made in church, I don't know how we'll ever get to stop it. I personally feel that when we make vows, when people make vows, I think we should pray more for them than, I don't know how our mothers do that thing. You know that thing they do with their tongue? I don't know how they do it. Because when they make those vows, there's a long journey ahead. So when you made your vow and you said, this is the promise you made, you must value your spouse. You must value God. If your vow would run your home and
keep it going, then you must value God. So what place have you given God? What place have you given your spouse? When God blesses you with children, your vows have an effect on your children. So you must value those children. I find it interesting sometimes that as adults, we maybe, I don't know whether we have selective memory, but we sometimes forget some things we did growing up and maybe think they won't happen to us. One of the things I find fascinating, there are certain things that happened in your home when you were growing up. Now you are grandpa. But if you can think back, that your parents didn't know that you knew, but you knew. Can you remember? That there are certain things that your parents were acting. They were acting that everything was okay. But you and your brothers and your sisters knew that those two people, something is wrong. Some of those things have affected you. It affected how you view your father. It affected how you view your mother, because you got to hear certain things that they did that affected you. Don't pass it to the next generation. Your children are watching. Just like your parents thought you didn't know, but you knew. Your children too know, but you think they don't know. That you are playing and doing certain things, they know. In fact, unfortunately for us, we live in a generation where at a very young age, they can tell you the most shocking thing, and sometimes in the most unpleasant places. A couple, they were acting up as if everything was okay, and we were talking. And when we were talking, they told me that when they started talking, they were just, behaving well. Their young daughter, who is in primary school, looked at two of them and said, "Oh, you people have started talking." That the girl actually asked them, "Oh, are you people have started talking now?" Because they felt that they didn't notice that both of them were not in good terms. So, first value for your vow is God. Second value for is your spouse. Then your children. Living out those vows. You see, one of the things the organizers talked about, the issue of divorce. We'll talk about that in a bit. The people that feel the impact most in a separated home are children. Because God's design has been fractured. God's design has been fractured. And if those children saw love growing up and then there's a fracture, they may smile with you, but give it time. One day they will tell you their heart. So for the value you place on your children, and that also translates to the value you place on God. In Psalm 127 and verse 3, it says, children, some version says, I gift, their heritage from God. The way you treat a gift shows how much value you place not only on the gift, but on the giver. Am I correct? If somebody gives you a gift and you value the person, the gift may not be expensive, the gift may even be something you already have. But because you value the person that gave you, you handle it looking at not the gift now, but the giver of the gift. The way we impact our children is a way of telling God how much we value the gift He gave to us. The way we live our lives, guarded and guided by the vows that we made, is a way of telling God, thank you, because you are passing something to the next generation. The way we handle our children is gratitude to God first, before it's any other thing to you. So that whatever you think you are investing in them is so that they become the best. As you say, thank you. Why? There are people that some of you know, maybe they are here. It's not the capacity to take care of children that they do have, but God has not visited them. Is that not so? They have capacity. In fact, you know that they can do better than you if it's capacity, but God has not visited them. So for every child that you have, for every investment that you make, he's saying, God, thank you. That you found me worthy to give me this gift. Not because I did anything special, not because I am even more righteous, but just that you found me worthy. So in obeying and keeping your vows is that you are giving God value, you are giving your spouse value, you are also placing value in your children, and your children are a source of gratitude, as it were, in how you keep them to God. The last one I will tell you about the values in your marriage vow is you are also making yourself a valuable witness for Christ. When people look at your home, they see the difference because you're a Christian. When people look at your home, are you a witness that this home, there's something different about it? There will never be a perfect home, but there can be a peaceful home. Do you understand? There will never be a perfect home. It can't happen, because on this side of eternity, we are all imperfect. But there can be a peaceful home. Peaceful home means that when issues come, we resolve them. We sit down together, we talk. Where is beyond us, we look for somebody that we all both trust. And let me remind us